Tomato. Hello and welcome to today's video featuring Tomato. I'm actually super excited to sit down for today's video and talk to you guys all about writing. I came up with some questions to help kind of move this video along, so sit back, relax, treat this like a podcast, go grab a snack. You can sit back and enjoy this while you're drinking your cup of coffee, whatever works for you. But we are going to get to chatting about writing. Let's dive into the first question. What inspired you to start writing? Simply putting it, reading. I loved reading even when I was a kid, so much so that I wanted to create my own worlds, my own characters, my own stories. I also think a big reason that I went to writing in the first place was because I'm an only child. A lot of my childhood was spent having to fill my own time, and I came up with a bunch of stories and characters, whether it was playing with my toys or going outside and creating, like, I built full structures in my backyard for these stories. I started writing like from as far back as I can remember, honestly. Second question is, how do you make realistic characters? The best way that I have found is to imagine to your best capability that the character you are writing is a real person. This character is a real life living person with flaws, likes, dislikes, a past that might not ever make it on paper, but it still matters to the character. So the best thing you can do is write all of it down on paper, from their favorite ice cream to whether or not they like mini golf. I don't care how big the range is. If a thought comes to you, write it down. Every single detail matters, and the same thing goes for writing their dialogue and their inner thoughts if you're writing in first person, because you know what your character would and would not think, say, and do. Did you just throw up? No, she didn't. Look at how cute this cat is. Like, are you kidding me? God, I love you. I would die for you. Anyway, if you are not sure what your characters would or would not do, then maybe go back to the drawing board because you don't know them enough to write them. A big help is Pinterest, is just daydreaming about your characters, and then also making a playlist. Like, most of the time when I'm listening to music, I will associate songs or albums or certain artists even with a specific character. I'm pretty sure one project I just came up with spurred up from daydreaming and a song playing at the same time. And I think it's all about just listening and being aware, having your characters in your project in the forefront of your mind. What are you currently working on? I'm currently working on a couple different things. Some will never see the light of day, and others I hope to get published in the future. So I'm just gonna list off my projects and kind of what the synopsis is, like a very short blurb, just so then that way moving forward in this journey together, you will know what I am talking about. First and foremost is the Venture series. So I have book 1 already out and available on Kindle and Kindle Unlimited. That is Venture Below. I am currently working on and hope to publish Venture Beyond, which is the second book in this trilogy, and then the third book, which you know nothing about yet, and I love that. Venture Beyond is not currently out yet. I'm hoping to publish that one in November. Fingers crossed I can do it. I did self-publish Venture Below, and I plan on self-publishing, honestly, the rest of the series. It's got kings, queens, kingdoms, which I introduce a lot more kingdoms in the second book and kind of broaden the world. We have a rebellion going on. There's a mystery behind the king's death, who was assassinated. The first book, Venture Below, is in the perspective of the daughter of the evil queen and the king that was assassinated. Princess Adelaide is trying to figure out what happened to her father and then also uncover a bunch of other mysteries that are going on. I really love this world building, and I just have so much fun with the characters. If you want to check out Venture Below, please do so. It would mean the world to me. Next up is a project near and dear to my heart, and that is Project Close. This one is a romance. So Project Close came to be because I imagined these two characters. They always ran into each other when life was absolutely insane and things were going so wrong in their lives, but every time they ran into each other, it was almost like a sign from the universe that everything was going to be okay, and they never meet. So the first encounter is like they bump into each other at the park. The female main character kind of tells the main male character, like, hey, everything's gonna be okay. I don't know what you're going through, but just know, like, whatever it is, it's gonna pass and you're gonna be all right. He really, really needed to hear that. And then the next time he like sees her at this restaurant and then wants to say something but doesn't say something because he doesn't want to be a creep. And then the next time she sees him at the grocery store but doesn't say anything. And so it's like this constant back and forth. It's a very slow burn, mainly focusing on like the two individual characters. 30 50,000 words into that one, 40,000 words. Most of the other projects I'm working on aside from the venture series are kind of on the back burner. If my creativity and inspiration hits, I will work on the project, but it's not like a high priority. My main priority is the venture series. That's why I said it first. Project Close is like, I love these stories. Oh. I do already have a title for that one. I don't want to explain anything about that one more than I already did, but just know I love that book. Moving on, we have The Sun and the Moon. This one is another fantasy, but I think it'll be new adult or adult fantasy because I kind of want to include a little bit of razzle dazzle, spicy spice. But The Sun and the Moon is another like in-depth fantasy that's going to take place at an academy type of vibe. In this world, on your 18th birthday, you are given a moon or a sun or nothing at all, and that will determine like the kingdom you are in. And the main premise is that on our main character Nyx's birthday, she wakes up with both the sun and the moon entangled. It causes this big upheaval. There's a lot going on with the politics of the world. I have most of these characters already figured out and structured in a way where, like I said, I know like most of the details of what they would and would not do. There's a love triangle between Nyx and a man from the sun kingdom and a man from the moon kingdom. Don't even get me started. Oh my god, I have goosebumps just thinking about them. I love love triangles when they're done right. The entire main reason for that is Twilight. I don't know if that one will be like a full series, maybe a duology. Like I said, some certain aspects going on with the world building and the politics that I already have in mind and like the overarching conflict of it, aside from the subplot of the love triangle. But anyway, that is The Sun and the Moon. Next up is a project that I just came up with and daydreamed. It's the one I was talking about where I was just listening to a song and it hit me, and that is Project Monterey. I love the town Monterey in California. I'm from the Bay Area, so Monterey and Carmel and like that whole area of California is just to die for. Oh my god, I would live there if I could. And so I thought, why not just turn that into a book? I'm gonna have my main character, did I come up with a name for her yet? I don't think so. The main character, she is basically like inheriting this bookshop in Monterey, and it's next door to a cafe. The owner of it is a very attractive man. They have really cute meet cute, and it's just gonna be about like her story there. I want that one to kind of be wholesome, more character based, probably literary fiction-esque. I don't actually know if I have the writing capability to properly do literary fiction, but I'd love to someday. But yeah, that one I already have like a couple scenes. They just like come in flashes for me where like I'll see the scene like happening and I'll just like type it off in my notes app. I have a couple different scenes in mind for it. I did already start a Pinterest board. I haven't gone as far to make a playlist yet, but you know I will. The next one is Project LIL. I'll probably call it Project Lil for now. I don't want to say the name because it's like the working title I have for it, so I don't want to reveal anything. But that one, the premise is another romance. It is these two people who were like crushing over each other in high school, but then they like never made moves. So then later on is when they kind of reconnect, but it's always about timing with them, and like they always have the timing off. I don't know, that one just is very hazy to me, so like I don't know what I'll do with it, but the idea is there. I'm just not putting any pressure on it, but I think it could be a really fun, wholesome romance. The last project I'm going to talk about is my poetry collections. I have like 2 books basically full of poetry. I don't know what I'm going to do with them or if I'll ever do anything with them, but I do love writing poetry. Very like no structure, just vibes poetry is my thing. Like I love writing poetry like that, and I do a few like poetry challenges every once in a while, but nothing is set in stone with my poetry. Those are all the projects that I'm currently working on. Let me know which one you are interested in hearing more about and possibly seeing a writing vlog on if any of those sparked some interest for you. Okay, the next question is, what is one piece of advice you would give to an aspiring writer? One thing I would say, if you are an aspiring writer or an aspiring author, you are a writer. Whether or not you are published or you ever plan on publishing, if it's every day you sit down to write, every month, once in a blue moon, no matter what, as long as you are writing, you are a writer. One thing I am learning is to validate myself and acknowledge that as long as I am reading it and I am passionate, that is enough. So keep writing. Even if you are the only one reading it, it still matters. Trust me, that is something I need to hear on a daily basis, and that I definitely needed to hear when I was writing Venture Beyond the first time, was that even if I don't make it and I'm not successful by everyone else's standards, as long as I am still enjoying what I'm doing and I'm passionate about it, I'm a writer, and that's all that matters. Talk about your experience with publishing, the highs and the lows. I'll start with the highs. I gotta say, the feeling of watching somebody read my writing and love it and be just as invested in the world and the characters and the story as I am is one of, if not the best feelings as a writer. There is nothing like it when you see somebody who is just as eager and like interested in your world that you've created. There is nothing quite like it. I think that was my biggest takeaway and excitement from publishing Venture Below. Not that it was very many people by any means that were invested in it, but just the handful that like came to me and were like, dude, I need the second book. I need to know what happens to Adelaide. I need to know what's happening in this world. That is just the best feeling ever. And I want that feeling over and over again for every book that I put out there. The lows. Okay, the lows are definitely not feeling good enough and questioning every single thing that I type. I'm working through that because I constantly am questioning myself and my writing and if it's even good because of some lower reviews that I've gotten. Sometimes I have to force myself to sit down and write, and I have to remind myself that before everything, before publishing, before producing or performing, I love writing. I always will. It's a part of me. It's who I am. And regardless of how it is taken and how it is reviewed and rated, that is still true. Perfect. Moving right into how do you deal with criticism and self-doubt, especially when it comes to your writing. So like I just mentioned, it is super, super hard for me to deal with criticism, and it always has been. I hate the feeling that I did something wrong or I upset somebody. The people-pleasing tendency within me is super fierce. It is so fierce. I came to a conclusion that I will never ever be perfect, and I will never write something that is perfect because a perfect book just doesn't exist. To the entire world, there is not one specific perfect book. There can be one to me, there can be one to you, and we can disagree. And that is something I had to acknowledge and something I have to constantly remind myself when I see a poor review on my own work, is that I can be an author that somebody loves. And I can write these worlds, characters, and stories that I am excited about and not feel guilty for it if somebody doesn't agree. Because even with buckets and buckets of self-doubt, I know that I will get better and that as time goes on, I'm only going to become a more well-rounded writer. I'm simply doing my best with what I have right now, and that's enough. Okay, happy thoughts, happy things. What are your goals or dreams for your writing career? My absolute dream scenario would be to be traditionally published, but I'm thinking I want to traditionally publish either Project Close or Project Monterey or one of those romances, because I think that is just who I want to put out there as a traditional author, more so than the young adult fantasy stuff that I am currently working on. That is more for my inner child and my inner teen, which we'll get into in a later question. That's just a part of me fulfilling a dream of mine from a young age. Current me would love to be traditionally published and eventually do like a book tour. Oh my god, I think that would be so much fun, even though I am incredibly introverted and shy when I meet new people, especially in a large group. I would love to overcome that and do a book tour because I think that would be so much fun. The last question is, what is one thing you wish readers knew about your books or writing process? Honestly, that I'm putting my whole soul into my writing. It's not going to be perfect. Like I've been saying, I'm doing my absolute best, and more so than anything, I am prioritizing inner child and inner teen versions of me who never thought this was possible and never dreamed that I could actually fulfill that thing deep inside of me that wanted to be a published author, because she did not think it was gonna happen at all. Another thing, when you're specifically reading the Venture series, I'm gonna tell you the backstory on Venture Below, Venture Beyond, Beyond and the third book. So if that doesn't interest you, maybe skip this little part of the video. I started writing Venture Below when I was in 8th grade, and I really needed it. Like, I needed a world and a story that I could fall into with hope, with redemption, with loss, with things that were real, but also things that I needed at the time. Venture Below originally was called, what was it called? Powerful. I think I still have the original document. I'm gonna try to find it. I think it's in my drawer right here. Hold on. I forgot I moved it to a storage bin, but I did find my Coke. So that story was not great writing at all. When I was 23 or 24, I found that old raggedy piece of manuscript from when I was in 8th grade, and I reread it, and I realized there was something there, and it was worth looking into and rewriting, possibly publishing. I set out to do exactly that, and then another revelation hit me where I had written something for National Novel Writing Month my senior year of high school. I reread that, and it hit me again that I could make these two things one, and I could create this series where I used the script I had for the second book I wrote my senior year and the first book I wrote in 8th grade, and I could create this whole series. And so that's exactly what I did. Current me, like me a few months ago, was still trying to fit the story and the characters into almost exactly what the plot was for the second book I wrote my senior year. I realized it just wasn't working. It didn't have to be exactly like copy and paste of what I had originally done. So I moved around some pieces and the ending, and so now I'm even more excited about it because it makes so much more sense to the characters, the plot, the world, the story. Like, it just is gonna flow so much better than what I was originally working with. I'm very excited about it. Just know when you're reading the Venture series, this is more of myself than I can even explain, and that the 8th grade me sitting down at that old computer typing the story out when I really needed an escape never would have thought that you would be reading it. I just know she'd be so proud of me. And that's really all that matters when it comes to the Venture series, is just fulfilling that dream. And I'm not worried about ratings or reviews or trying to make it successful. I'm just trying to get it done and have this project be finished for the past versions of me that thought it never would have happened. That's just something I want you guys to have in your minds when you're reading this. It's just to know that it really means so much to me. I'm hoping to publish Venture Beyond in November, like I said, and I plan on vlogging and documenting the whole experience from finalizing the cover to finishing up revisions. I am going to be putting out a writing vlog this Saturday, so make sure you check that one out by subscribing and turning on post notifications so that way you get notified when that video goes live. I'm going to be starting the revisions process where I dive deep into the editing trenches, so that'll be loads of fun. I'm just excited to get this story out there and to finally have it done. It has been years in the making for Venture Beyond. That is about all I have for you. So if you have stuck around this long, thank you so much. If you have any more questions about writing or anything to do with publishing, please leave them down below. I would love to answer them. I do plan on doing more videos kind of like this that are chatty, answering questions, and it'll be my author diaries series. So make sure that you check those ones out when they come out in the future. Give this video a like if you liked it, comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on post notifications, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!